Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That is Eric over there.
Hello.
That is Vanessa over there.
Hello.
I'm Kelly. You guys, I know we've only been off for a week or so, but it feels more like 7 or 8 days to me.
It feels like a month for me, maybe 2.
A couple of things I want to start with first. The first episode of the Amityville Horror Picture Show dropped last week.
Yeah.
To a thunderous applause. The 8 or 12 people who downloaded it all enjoyed it very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for checking it out. Keep going.
And then secondly, Vanessa, you're back.
I am back. Yes.
We took a small break to play that show because you were moving.
I was moving. Yes. I was like, you know what, guys? I don't think I have time because I'm still living in Boxland. Like, it hauled them all into a moving truck last weekend. I got delivered, and now I'm opening boxes every time I need something and going through like 20 boxes, being like, where's the spatula?
But the joy of deciding to set aside enough to hire movers just is so nice.
That was really nice. Well, I'm the youngest in my family, and I'm like, you know what? My brothers are like, I got arthritis and a bad back. And everyone's like, what day do we show up? And I'm like, no day. No day do you show up. You will all injure yourselves horrifically. And I am so grateful because the guys, there were 4, 5 young dudes, strapping lads who showed up. And by the end of the day, they were like molasses. They were so tired. And there was one dresser they kept like putting off moving because they were like, it's so awful. So yeah. And like to the point where I jumped in and was like, no, it's fine. I'm going to help like move some of the stuff because you guys are like really, you've done a lot. So I'm glad I made that decision. Worth the money. Significantly worth the money.
And listener, I got a knock on the door at 10:43 a.m. and I knew that was Eric, and I opened the door and saw Vanessa there earlier than anybody today.
Except for you.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, he was here the night before.
Yep. No, I haven't figured out the timing it takes to drive here yet.
I think you figured it out exactly. Don't change a thing.
Yes, whatever you left today, just go with that.
I'll just keep my alarms on. I'll have to remember next weekend to snooze. But I mean, I will definitely leave here next weekend to record because we record weekly. So it's fine. I'll just leave it.
Theater of the mind. I hope that you had some time to watch things while you were moving and all that.
I squeezed it in, yes.
Okay.
I found times, I had an anniversary and I said, you know what, we're going to watch tonight for our anniversary? A very special star presentation.
Oh, wow.
So,
well, okay,
yeah.
Let me start off then. I saw a movie called There's Something Wrong with the Children.
Oh.
I have not watched this one yet, but it's definitely on my radar.
Uh,
Keep it low on the radar?
I wouldn't say it's a must-see. I was pretty disappointed with it. Kids are inherently creepy anyway, so I like the creepy kids movies. And I liked that there was, a supernatural evil that has kind of taken over the kids as these 2 couples are on vacation. And then it just kind of fell apart. So I was really looking forward to this because everybody's been hyping it up, but it didn't do much for me.
I also watched a kids horror thing. So I went ahead and gave into the hype and went to see Skinamarink.
Oh, please.
Kids. That's an interesting, I guess, sort of.
It's a kids horror
So
film.
have we all seen it then?
I have not seen it.
Okay. Don't bother.
I'm not.
I'm just going to toss this out to you, Kelly.
There was... I heard what it was about and the angles and the darkness, and I was like, sounds a little pretentious.
There's something in there about that dreamy, sleepy, half awake nightmare feeling, and it does that. Yeah. But I would be fine if it did it for 10 minutes. I don't know what is achieved by it being a feature-length film. I was so board. And they have, Eric, you might have noticed this. So they have this artificial grain effect that they put on and make it feel old.
Oh my God, yes.
And it is on a rotation.
Oh no.
It's on a loop. And they did not put a fade on the loop. So it's a pretty startled loop. So every time it looped, which is maybe every 30 seconds.
Oh no.
I was like taken out.
Yeah.
Every time. And it was probably done on purpose to be that abrupt.
Oh yeah.
But I hated it.
I had the same problem. It's such generated. And you can play with that stuff so much.
You can really make it natural.
Like, you should have, unless that was something they were, like you just said, there's something they were doing to
I think it
disarm.
Because
if you're not psychotic watchers of stuff like you have to be when you're editing shit, movies hit differently. Yeah, that was real tough for me, and that happened real fast. So that technically was real rough for me.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of plot. I mean, I'm sorry, there's
A
so
lot of
little
what?
plot. There's so little plot that it's just, I don't know, they did so little, and to me, it felt extremely lazy. Like, by the time one cool thing happens, you're like, whoa, one cool thing happened. And then they do it 5 more times because they don't have anything else. I know this guy is like a very popular YouTube horror maker. I don't know any of his background. I wasn't a fan ahead. But this was definitely not a movie for me. I know a lot of people are like, it's haunting and it sits with you. I have not thought about it once until today. So it did not haunt me.
It sat with me a little bit. I don't quite know about haunting's the right word for it, but it sat with me for a little bit. And I am intrigued by this guy's YouTube channel. What he does is he asks people, send me your nightmares and I'll try to put it on film. And it's generally, 10 minutes or less.
Yeah.
And there is a video of this one apparently on that channel that's under 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
Like, well, that would be really, really cool. I'm going to go back again to which the same thing I had with Paranormal Activity and Witch, which I know you hated at least, well, one of them, maybe both of them, Kelly, but I enjoyed both of them quite a bit. And the part I have the most respect for, though, is they got this in a large theatrical release.
Yeah.
They got people to come in that have been watching, probably maybe not, but have been aware of Marvel movies and that kind of stuff. Even the movie I like, Top Gun Maverick, where it's just, this is spectacle. And they got them to sit in and pay for, and in many cases, really enjoy this incredibly experimental thought mind mess movie. So there are moments that worked for me, and I did watch the whole thing. I watched it at home on Shudder. I didn't go to the theater, so I wasn't trapped. But I did watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be anything I need to see again or do that, but I always love it when somebody in such a weird artistic position pulls this off. Just like with Terrifier.
Yeah.
Especially Terrifier 2. It's like, wow, how the hell did you pull that off? But yeah, I have a hard time. It's so abstract and so weird. I can't just look at somebody and go, how do you like that? You're so dumb. Because I don't think they are.
I don't think people are dumb at all. Yeah.
It's such a weird experience that I could get where somebody could be absolutely deeply immersed and freaked out by it because it's just so different.
Yeah, we all go to cinema for different things and we get different things out of it. And for me, a story is just very important. Yeah. Even if I just need something to pull me through. And without that, I can't get lost in it in that way. So but I do understand there are a lot of people who love experimental movie making and Andy Warhol and, there's a lot of stuff in the 70s. And I like some of that, but I need to have a reason to sit there and, I don't know. I can totally see why people would enjoy it. I was just not one of them.
Did you see it in the theater,
I
Vanessa?
did.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I saw it with, and nobody left.
Did you see it in like a chain, a big theater?
Yeah, Skinamarink.
One of a regular contributor to Crypticon Film, Byron, saw it in the way I'm going, okay, I kind of wish I'd seen it that way, because that might have been interesting where he saw it at the Grand Illusion, which is
that would be a good place to see
70 seat tight theater
Mhm.
which is creepy almost on its own
Creaky
right.
Yeah.
seats.
And if with a room full of people who were all into it,
Yeah.
which is how I saw Blair Witch, which made it a lot
That-
more fun.
Yeah, the theater experience definitely changed. There was maybe 6 people or 8 people, and actually I think it was maybe an AMC, but yeah,
Yeah, AMC.
yeah. I mean, it was like a really late night screening in God knows where, and it was, yeah, it was definitely you get really comfy, and the seat goes back, and you're in this with your popcorn, and you're like, oh, all right, this is what I'm in for.
So, Eric, when you were saying I probably hated both films, you meant Paranormal Activity and Blair Witch,
Yes.
not The Witch. Okay.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yes, I did hate both those films.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, those are very different films. Like Witch has got a lot of production in it.
Mhm. Although that was a good one, too, to sneak its ass into theaters and be really successful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you've watched that and you're ready for something light and you love British humor, my nephew, he's not that young, he's like early 20s, introduced me to the Goes Wrong show.
The Goes Wrong show.
Are you
Okay.
familiar with this one?
I am not.
I mean, if you don't like British humor, you're not going to like it because, man, is it British. But the idea is every week, and it's done live, a theater group puts on a half-hour play. And that half-hour play, something has gone horribly wrong in it.
Oh.
Like one of the episodes, like, well, we have to apologize. Our set masters got the dimensions wrong on our courtroom set and used centimeters instead of inches. Or,
Yeah.
British version of that. So they go in, and the courtroom's this tiny little place. Everybody has to jam pack their way into it. And it's stupid as all get out, but it is so freaking funny because I love British humor. And it is just wonderful. Another one, they built an entire stage, one of the rooms with a 90-degree angle. So everybody that goes into it, and they don't act like anything's wrong. They do the play straight while trying to deal with all this stupid stuff going on. And it's just a lot of fun. It's all on YouTube. At least, 2 seasons of it are on YouTube.
That sounds incredible. That sounds like so much fun.
What is that called again?
The Goes Wrong show.
I bet that's a little more recent from the time that I left.
Oh,
And
probably. I think it's now.
Yeah.
It's being produced now.
I started Googling like what's cool in England to watch right now. Because I'm just like, I know that there's good stuff and it's not on BritBox. Like what is it?
Yep.
That's like the first sign that you're getting old when you had to Google what's cool somewhere.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good
I
point.
feel it. I feel it deep.
I saw another movie, Sick.
Oh, I've seen that one.
I don't know this one.
Let's talk about this. It is it's a horror movie written by Kevin Williamson. It's got a lot of his kind of feel. It feels a little bit like Scream at the beginning, and that it's a pandemic movie. That it actually takes place in the pandemic, and this guy is going shopping, and it's a scene we're all familiar with. Everything on the shopping aisles is cleared out, and he goes to grab, the last thing of toilet paper, and there's some lady who grabs it out of his hand and stuff like that. And then he starts getting these weird texts like, you going to party with us tonight and all this stuff. And he's just responding, leave me alone and blah, blah, blah. The whole point of this is the setup is to make you think that this is the main character.
Right.
And then in Kevin Williamson fashion, he gets brutally murdered.
Yeah, no shit.
And then the real movie starts. And it's basically kind of these kids who have decided to quarantine together at a remote cabin, and somebody there is going to pick them off one by one.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Almost worked.
Yeah, almost worked. It's a little heavy-handed in its delivery of COVID stuff.
But interestingly, on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I can't tell if he thought that we overreacted to the pandemic or if he's angry at the people who didn't take it seriously enough.
Yeah.
Because it's both sides are portrayed.
Yeah, he does a fairly good job of balancing that, which I don't know is a good idea or a bad
That's what
idea.
I was going to say. I was like, this is too balanced. I can't tell if I'm supposed to root for anybody in this. And
Right.
plus, everybody was an asshole.
Yeah, there was not really any likable characters, and that always hurts your film. So you're kind of like, it was fine.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's how it was. There was too many similarities to Scream,
Mhm.
but the thing that was missing was that whole murder mystery part of Scream,
Oh,
where
yeah.
you were kind of wondering who the killer could be. Pretty
Oh.
quick, the one person you think it might be shows up, and you're like, well, this can't be him. So now it's like, okay, now it's just somebody we don't know is killing these people, and that's
Oh.
and I don't know,
That's
it didn't grab me,
interesting.
but it was well made. It's on Peacock.
Mhm.
Kevin Williams is a good writer. It didn't have his full comedy.
No.
It needed a lot more of his.
In fact, there was
fun
a
aspect.
secondary writer. I don't remember her name, but it felt to me like she came up with the idea, and then they hired Kevin Williamson to make it.
Punch it up.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Hollywood.
Yeah, there you go.
I went and saw another movie in theaters, which again, a lot of people seem to, I think, mostly really like. Knock at the Cabin Door or Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
The one that's not being credited to the amazing book it's based on.
Well,
Yeah,
not on the
it is in
poster, at
the
least.
opening credits.
Is it fine? It did get it. Good.
Yeah. I haven't read the book, so I didn't really know what to expect, and I don't know.
I haven't read the book either, but I've read the author before, and he's amazing. I know a lot of people really love the book, and I'm
Yeah.
hearing that this does not follow the book so much.
It does not follow the book. I was told how the book ends versus how this ends. I don't have a problem with the ending. It's just that the journey is there's not a lot of like twists or turns. I think people are going to enjoy it, and I'm really excited that they're going to enjoy it because I really enjoyed watching Signs and The Village in movie theaters, and I didn't know what to expect, and I hadn't seen 8 zillion movies yet. But now that I've seen 8 zillion movies, at no point was I like, what's gonna happen? I was like, I know exactly what is and what will happen. But there's a lot of really good acting in it, so that's kind of fun watching people play a little bit against type. So that's cool.
I heard one person said it to me this way. It's like, you know how you can really get wrapped up in a movie when the victim is doing everything right and they're still gonna die or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But that is not the case here. Everybody does exactly the wrong thing at every turn, and you get frustrated.
Yeah, there's a lot of stupid choices being made, but I don't know if it's like I didn't sit there being like mad about it because it's not like people aren't trying to do whatever they're trying to do. It's just that everyone's motives are really clear. And so because everyone's motives are very clear, there's only one question mark in the whole thing, which is one of the potential victims' perspectives of questioning things and having an idea, like a kind of conspiracy theory idea about it. That was the only thing that was interesting. Was like, okay, I like the way he's talking through the problem, and I enjoy that. And that was literally the only thing I was like gaining out of it. So I don't know, Shyamalan, it seems like a pretty low budget thing for him. So yay.
Yeah.
It was not The Happening.
Well,
And I thought it was better than Old.
I gotta say, right off the bat, I was upset because the title is Knock at the Cabin Door, which is a stupid title.
Mm-hmm.
And the title of the book is Cabin at the End of the World, which is a
Right.
great title.
Yeah,
Great title.
yes.
Such a great title. Yeah, the knock at the cabin or knock at the cabin door or whatever it's called. It's so forgettable and just stupid.
It's just too bad because I think Paul Tremblay's written some really, really good books.
Head Full of Ghosts is really good.
Yeah, I like Devil's Rock a lot too. And they're thematic too. So you think he writes in a thematic style. So it's like, come on, man, work with the guy. Let's see what we can get out of this shit. But, oh well, Stephen King knows that world.
That's true.
Not getting his books the way he likes them. So we watched another documentary about filmmaking, They'll Love Me When I'm Dead. It's about Orson Welles making his last film, The Other Side of the Wind.
Oh.
Either of you seen this one?
Mm-mm.
It's on
No.
Netflix now.
Is it new?
Seems to be. I didn't look up what day it came out or what year it came out, but it's Well, I think that the Other Side of the Wind came out last year or something like that. They did a re-edit of it and released it.
Yeah.
It probably came out that same time as that.
Okay.
I watched both, but I did watch the documentary first, which a lot of people say, oh, you should watch the movie first. I disagree. I think if I'd watched the movie first, I'd be like, because it's also very experimental, but incredibly well shot. And the acting, of course, is all top notch. And it's all sort of, Orson's like, well, it's not about me. It's like, bullshit, it's not. John Huston is obviously playing a version of you. Of course, you've got that guy's voice, like, Gandalf.
Yes.
That sounds so cool. It's a great documentary. It's really interesting and very interesting to see an artist minded like that he was, just getting angry as hell at what's going on with Hollywood and how he can't get anything done. The stuff he wants to do, nobody understands me as an artist, and it's just really interesting. And then you watch the movie and go, yeah, this would never made anything in the 70s, but it's a fascinatingly weird watch. Part of the idea of it is he's making fun of kind of some of Godot's stuff and some of the other French things that were going on, where these long distance things and somebody following somebody for a long time, sort of obsessing over them. So that's part of the storyline. And then the rest of the storyline is the movie being made. So it's one of those movies within a movie. And so it's an interesting watch. I'll say that for both of them are really good. Well, documentary's really good. The movie's really interesting.
Check that out. But how about right now we take a little break, and then when we come back, we're talking Dude Bros.
Radical Dudes.
Good.
Dude. 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 Dude? Dude. Dude.
Hello?
Let's see who's called the Strange Eons radio hotline.
Hey guys, it's Mike DeBronzo. I'm just calling to say congratulations on the Amityville Picture Horror Show. I think I just mutilated that. Anyhow, the Amityville podcast was great. You guys did a great job. I didn't know how you were going to go about like approaching the movies, just taking the piss out of them, or actually mixing in talking about, the other stuff that you covered. Tony was a great guest. Hope to see him like on another one. Hopefully a real shitty movie, which is saying something for the Amityville franchise. A lot of great perspective, especially what it was like in '79 when the movie came out. Because I remember it was just like everywhere. So, hey, looking really forward to future installments. And yes, Rod Steiger does chew scenery like Pac-Man with a tapeworm. I think like overacting should be measured on like the Steiger counter. Just like it's so bad it actually makes the movie better. But hey, great job. Looking forward to see for you guys. Keep going and see how long it takes to break you in spirit and soul. Have a good one, guys.
Thanks, Michael, for the kind words. I listened to it again, and I actually thought it was a pretty good episode, Eric. So well done.
Our recording style has apparently changed a lot in a year. The editing on that or the sound adjustment on that, it was interesting to revisit because it was recorded quite a while ago.
Yeah. Michael DeBronzo has a way with words. Pac-Man with a tapeworm.
That's right. And
What a visual.
And a great name. That is a great freaking name, man.
I also like the Steiger counter, which is what I will have to use anytime I watch a Rod Steiger movie now.
Will that be Poe or pre-Nicolas Cage movies? And then
you guys should all listen to the Amityville Horror Picture Show. The second episode will be dropping next month with Carlos Zamora. And then the third episode, the month after that. Oh, wait a second. The second episode with Tony again.
That's true. We do have a double
we have an
episode.
addendum.
Oh my God.
And then the third episode with our own lovely Vanessa Williams. Not that Vanessa Williams,
Not that
but
Vanessa
this
Williams.
Vanessa Williams.
This one that's here, Vanessa Williams. Me, Vanessa Williams.
If you'd like to call the Strange Eons radio hotline, dial 253-237-4266.
Nobody hangs up on me.
We have returned. Vanessa, you chose Radical Dudes.
Radical Dudes.
Please tell us what this even means.
Okay, so this means anyone who's using, there's a period of time where there was like extreme sports where we had, bikes, cool bikes and skateboards and surfboards and rollerblades. So Radical Dudes just refers to any film that's going to be featuring those hip, awesome, new modes of transportation.
Rock on.
So I will go ahead and go first. This was all kind of a giant excuse for me to finally sit down and watch my 4K Vinegar Syndrome edition of Rad.
They say this guy Bart Taylor's gonna walk Hell Track.
I don't know. It's gonna take a radical miracle to beat this guy.
And we're here for the biggest and most important bicycle motocross event ever held, Hell Track.
You're gonna do it? You're gonna try to qualify?
I don't want to hear any more about it.
Okay, dudes, let's walk this sucker.
Jones will give local fans something to cheer about.
Very nice. Saw this in the theater.
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you were one of only a few. I'll tell you that. So that would have been in 1986. It had a budget of $3 million and a box office of $2 million.
Oh,
I know.
ooh,
Yeah,
wow.
It was a commercial failure. Rotten Tomato score 42% from critics, but the audience disagrees. They think it's 90%.
Holy shit.
I have never seen such a disparity. I was like, people fucking love this movie. Now, at least. Directed by Hal Needham. He's got 20 directing credits, including Death Car on the Freeway, Stunts Unlimited, Smokey and the Bandit 2, and Street Luge. But really, he's Street Luge. But he has actually 108 stunt credits. That's really where he comes from. So he was doing stunts on things like Smokey and the Bandit, A Star is Born, Chinatown, French Connection. So he's been around the block, and this was kind of a moment for him to get to shine. Written by Sam Bernard, who has 11 credits, including Blood Surf, 315, The Moment of Truth, and 1 episode of Matlock. And co-written by Joffrey Edwards, who has 4 credits, including Trial of the Pink Panther and Curse of the Pink Panther. Do not know how that translates to this movie, but here we are. Starring Bill Allen as Crew. He has 35 credits, lots of TV one-offs, and also was on Born of the 4th of July, The Santa Fe Mysteries, The Elk Moon Murder, and has now got an illustrious career doing things like The Astronaut Farmer as reporter number 2 and Brothers as cop number 3.
Moving on up.
Yeah, he's really made it. He was good in this movie, but never mind. Bart Connor is kind of playing the rival in this, and he has 6 credits. He did not really take on much after this. He did like Challenge of a Lifetime, which was a TV movie, Death in Texas, and 1 episode of Touched by an Angel. And then the wonderful Lori Loughlin again shows up, 74 credits, including Full House, 172 episodes of it as Aunt Becky, When Calls the Heart, Summerland, and a lot of TV Christmas movies. She and Hallmark, very tight together. And the last name I want to throw out there is Talia Shire, 74 credits, including Adrian and Rocky and Connie in The Godfather. So the story follows Crew, a naturally talented stunt bike rider who lives in a small town that has decided to hold a giant contest called Hell Track for bikers around the country to come and compete. The only catch is no locals can enter. This seems very strange. Basically, they're trying to make the X Games before the X Games exist, but they're like, the locals are not going to be any good, so we're only going to have the coolest, most talented people from around the country show up so that the news will show up, so that the town gets money somehow. I don't fully understand their plan here, but that's okay. In this universe, fucking BMX is the bomb. Everyone knows and loves BMX. And I mean everyone. The little kids are wearing t-shirts for it. People are obsessed. So I thought the town meeting was going to be people like, no, we don't want this stuff in our town. But they were all like, cool, this is going to be great. Hell Track sounds awesome. Like, wow, grandma, okay. So the only thing they do object to is this idea of no locals trying out. So they decide to give a single spot, which people have to try out for in order to get. So, of course, Crew is extremely interested in that. But before the tryouts begin, the talent from around the country start to roll in. It's a bunch of cool, entitled kids. A lot of them look like they should be on MTV, especially the girls. Like, they're high fashion, big hair. All of them think this hodunk town is awful, except for Lori Loughlin, who is super cool and doesn't want anything to do with those jerks on her mongoose team. She takes a liking to Crew when they have this parade that goes down the town where like all the cool BMX bikers are in their cars driving through, and Crew stops the parade because there's a lady who's like, my cake is burning in the oven. I need to get home. This parade is un-American. She says that out loud. So he moves the barricades and lets her through, which Lori Loughlin thinks is super, super sweet. They basically start dating immediately. I don't know how else to describe it. There's a dance scene, which I'll get more into later, but holy smokes.
Rad.
That's a word you might want to use. I don't know. Crew decides to, of course, try out for the spot, but it means putting off college because he has to skip the SATs in order to do it, much to his mom's dismay. He forges her signature, takes off, and, of course, goes, races, wins the spot. Shocking. It's like the movie would otherwise have to end 20 minutes in. So, you know. However, the guys who are running the race are super snakes. They are terrified of this kid. I'm not entirely sure why. And so they decide to put a bunch of hoops in front of him to jump through, first forcing him to get a sponsor and saying he can't compete without one. So he makes up a t-shirt company in order to have a sponsor. And then they say, no, you have to have 50K in profits to qualify as a sponsor. So finally the town comes together, puts the money in, and he's able to race. But the mongoose dude, who is the best one ever, the guy who owns Mongoose, I guess, and his last name is Best. He has one more trick up his sleeve. He tells some of the bikers to take him down. So, will Crew win a really cool car and 100K? Will Lori Loughlin perform a single bike stunt in this entire film? Spoiler, no. It's done with a guy in a wig. You will never see the front of her face. Will the old guy who hates kids gain a heart of gold and help sponsor Crew so he can compete? also always riding a BMX. This guy's like 80 and he's got the coolest fucking bike. I don't get it. It's fine. It's so crazy. He's got like a cup of tea in his hand and he's like strolling down a little flat cap and he's got a fucking anyway, it's fine. Finally, will this film end on a freeze frame with two enemies now become friends holding a bike together in the air? Hard to say.
Seems awfully specific.
Yeah, to say, well.
Who knows? Stay
Spoiler
tuned.
alert.
This film was so much fun. It was
nice.
So awful, but so good. I mean, I can see why you'd have to really have a lot of patience to get past the opening credits, which are just a lot of guys doing really uncool looking stunts on bikes, like just hopping a bunch and kind of slowly, carefully twisting it around.
The level of what you do on bikes has changed significantly over the last,
really
30 years?
Yeah.
Sort of like watching Dogtown, the documentary about that where they're skateboarding around.
Yeah. No, it's really significantly changed. And it's like you kind of said there, it's definitely, filmed by a stunt guy. Like he's showing off the stunts. Like there's so much awesome stunt stuff happening in this. It's really cool just to watch it for the amount of love that you're given for all the action scenes. This film has some really confusing moments. I was extremely confused when they started making t-shirts and I was like, I don't know how this gets you a sponsorship, guys. It took me a while to kind of figure it out. There's a really lovely cop in this movie who, despite being called a skinhead, like is super supportive of the kids and like will chase them around for fun, but like he's not really going to arrest them. He's really neat. Everyone loves BMX. The dates, okay. This is the one thing that is best and worst about this movie. The dates that Lori Loughlin goes on with this guy. They go like biking together a lot. So they dance together, first of all. They do a dance at the dance, but on bikes. Mm-hmm. And they both have sparkle uniforms, kind of.
Oh, man.
And everyone's like, oh, she's dancing with crew and not with the other guy. And then they go on dates where they like go down a log flume fast and then get in the river and they're like, oh, this is so fun. And then at one point they jump into a lake together on bikes. And I'm like, oh my God, when Lori Loughlin goes second, I was like, don't fall on him with your bike. That is murder. But it's all very romantic and nicely done. So there's a little bit of trivia, but I didn't get a lot of stuff for it. Filming was delayed because the Hell Track starting ramp was so high that none of the riders wanted to go down it. The ramp was cut down to 25 foot tall version. And then BMX Plus magazine published an article about it. The character of Crew was loosely based off Eddie Fiola, who did most of the stunts for the film. The original title of the film was Balls Out, which one of the characters does say, but is not actually part of it. And Rod and Rex's dance suits were borrowed from the TV series V. They're weird, totally huge, gray, like V-neck, a huge shoulder pad outfits that they show up to the dance in. These twins, incredible, absolutely incredible. Yeah, there's not a lot more in there. Just the film was released on VHS Laserdisc in 1986, where it quickly found a following and became a top 10 video rental for 2 years after its release. And then it went 34 years between official releases, where VHS by Embassy Home did one in 1986, and then finally you could get it on 4K in 2020 by Vinegar Syndrome, and Blu-ray by Mondo in 2021. So. Oh, also, Jamie Clark, who played Luke, is the 9th Canadian to climb Mount Everest.
Wow.
Okay, sure.
When he showed up, I was like, you climbed Mount Everest. Fun times.
Eric, you've seen this, right?
I don't think I have.
You are missing out. This movie is something else.
It's something else.
I do have the Vinegar Syndrome disc, though, so I will be watching it.
You should check it out. It is really delightful. It's like worth watching, but there are lots of so bad it's good moments in it sprinkled throughout. So
I went with a couple of high school buddies, and we all just had a massive crush on Lori Loughlin.
Oh,
she
sure.
is so adorable in this movie.
Yeah, she's so cool in this film.
I also love this. There was something going on in the 80s where we were like, yes, of course this town loves BMX more than anything else. What, did you hear about Reseda? They have an all-valley karate tournament that everybody in town shows up for.
Right.
It's this ridiculous idea that any of these minor sports things bring an audience in.
When
yeah.
when the like
Yeah.
8-year-old on the playground shows up with like a BMX star like t-shirt, I was like, what is happening? And he's not like he's like a teenage, like the kid who's the BMX star is like not old or anything. I don't
Right.
think this is a super established sport. But he's got the fucking t-shirt and he's like, he's gonna beat up your brother. Like, what is this argument? This is insane.
Yeah, I'm sure there were some underground things going on with BMX at the time because it was so popular.
Sure, yeah.
It was such a trendy thing. But yeah, there's nothing remotely like the X Games going on that would have called in sports stations. To
Yeah,
cover it.
I just love stuff like that. We've got a
Yeah.
minor league baseball team here, and the stadium is half filled on the best night. But just think if they had held the hell track there.
Yeah, man.
I can only imagine. Fun fact: my first bicycle was a BMX stunt bike.
Did it have the
The
knobs, the
pegs.
pegs, and all
It
that?
did not have the pegs, but it had.
Well, how were you supposed to go to dances then, Vanessa?
Yeah, really.
I did try to learn a few like jumps and stuff, but it was my brother's bike, and he was a very cool guy.
Ah,
Yeah, he had like pierced his own ear and had like listened to metal, and
Damn.
so being the young kid's sister, of course, I got his hand-me-downs.
Oh.
Sure.
So
That could have been fun.
it was a cool bike. It didn't
Does he
have
want to
gears
be
though.
a
So
host on a podcast?
no, he's real straight-laced now.
I'll ask him. I don't
Of
trust you.
course.
He works at Edward Jones.
Oh my.
He plays golf. Like he's made a big turn in life.
He plays golf.
You don't,
You don't want to
understand.
know this guy.
His
He's not gonna
iTunes
wanna
has
be on your
no
podcast.
metal now.
That's right.
And Spotify list of the year was just sad.
If you have a podcast about investments and safe use of money, or Tony Robbins, he will show up.
Wow.
Oh God. All right. Ready?
Eric, I'm putting 10 minutes.
Okay.
On the timer.
So, I missed the part about it's supposed to be like vehicle based for this. So
Uh-oh.
they spend their entire movie almost on their feet with occasional, maybe a horse.
Are they
Okay,
dude bros,
all right.
Oh yeah.
though? Okay, then.
All right.
So this is the 1973's The 5 Days.
Excuse me.
That's a fast 10 minutes. Jesus. This Rotten Tomatoes has no ratings. I mean, not just no number ratings, no ratings. Nothing from any critics and nothing from the crowd. It's 0 underneath the slash. So I'm like, okay. Couldn't find anything on budget or box office. Right now, this only appears to be available from Severin, but I know Shudder shows a lot of Severin stuff, so it might show up there, although it's not really horror. But it's directed by Dario Argento.
What?
You know, the director of Dark Glasses, Dracula 3D, and The Mother of Tears.
Oh, that Argento.
Also written by Dario Argento, who wrote Dark Glasses, Dracula 3D, and Mother of Tears. Co-written by Nani Balstrini, who wrote The Color of Hate, and Franco Catalano was a story supervisor, and writer number 4, Enzo Ungari, who wrote The Last Emperor.
Wow.
So he might have contributed a lot to this. He wrote a lot with Argento and Luigi Cozzi, who put out Paganini Horror, and also he directed 1983's Hercules.
Nice.
Wow.
So I'm guessing he had a lot to do with this script. Starring Adriano Celentano, you might know from Bingo Bongo, or Loggerheads, or The Con Artists. But if you're in Italy, you probably know him as one of Italy's most successful singers, selling in the millions of albums, and had heavily influenced by Elvis.
Oh.
So, of course, per every country in the 50s and 60s, he was the Italian Elvis.
Of course.
But since 1958, he's released 40 albums.
Oh, my God.
Prolific.
Yeah. So, and I'll get back to him by the end for some interesting little notes. Enzo Carisico, who's Blood and Black Lace, which is Bava, which is damn good. La Dolce Vita by Fellini. He was also in Hercules. And Samson and Ulysses, and I Spy, and a shit ton of Italian films. And Marilu Tolo, Marriage Italian Style, The Last Days in Pompeii, Sergio Martino's The Scorpion with Two Tails, Charlie's Angels, Kill the Fatted Calf and Roast It,
Wow.
and Night of Violence. This is an interesting movie, and that this is Argento's 4th film, I believe. And the movie opens kind of slowly. The opening credits, and you know how credits roll in the early 70s, it's just an image of a cannon. Okay. And then you get an idea of what kind of movie you're in store for when it cuts to a prison and a man squishes a rat completely non-violently. So it's not like, ew, but he punches a rat, tosses it in the air, and it lands in another guy's mouth, followed by loud farting noises.
Whoa.
You asked if this was a dude bro movie? I give you farting in the first 5 minutes.
Oh my God.
So, but what's going on is this takes place during a Italian Revolution, and they're kicking out the Germans from, I think it's Milan. And so the escaped prisoners know they're going to be set free soon because they're political prisoners, of course. None of them are actually what they really are, but they all say they're political prisoners. The escape prisoner, they blow a hole in the side of the wall, and the only guy you see escape is the lead guy. I expected to see a bunch of people jump out the wall after him, but nobody did. So, okay, didn't have all the cast that day. And in order to kind of keep himself safe, because he knows the revolution is still going on in the city as he's walking around, there are battles and stuff. So he grabs the right flag and starts wandering through town, and then inadvertently creates a giant crowd following behind him, thinking he's heading to a battle or something.
Oh, jeez.
Where he stops to pee behind a little blind and realizes everybody's following him, so just leaves the flag and walks away. It's like, and they stop following him. It's like, okay, that works. The cut to that's a large portion of this movie is him just sort of wandering around and wandering into things going on. At this point, there's only one guy, but the dude bro is on his way. He walks into a political argument between, not quite sure how he just walks into a place that has the governor and all the major people, but apparently the crowd watches it. So disturbing, relevant kind of arguments that you could probably still hear today about money and taxes. So battle starts, and he starts to look for someplace to hide, and he runs into this building that's a bakery. And here's the other dude immediately ensues with some slapstick comedy and pee jokes.
Yeah.
But it is a relatively amusing point where he jumps into there and the guy kicks him out. So then his house gets shelled. And you get the classic house falling apart with the guy standing there holding a burning
Oh,
thing.
sure.
It's like, oh, I've seen that before. Well executed, though. This has the feel, once the guys kick in, of the Looney Tunes Chester and Spike cartoon, where you've got the big, tough bulldog kind of dog and the little Chihuahua-esque dog bouncing around, talking to him all the time. It's like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do today? What are we gonna... There's very similar between these two guys. And the two men stumble into helping a lady give birth, which is a ridiculously long scene, and has, oh, you would love this movie. I tell you, Vanessa, you would love it. You got the two guys, and one guy comically steps into a bucket of water. So the other guy gets into a fight with him and then accidentally steps in the bucket of water as well.
This sounds like hell.
It's oddly funny and kind of bad, but again, it's Argento's directing, so
Oh my
it's
God.
not awkward. It's not horribly done. It's just like, what are you doing? But a little bit of what I read afterwards was that this is just the kind of humor that was very popular in Italy at that time. Was this not quite Jerry Lewis slapstick, but a little slapsticky goofiness.
Yeah.
But luckily, the birth scene is nothing like the film I talked about before, Navajeros, where it's the most graphic birth I've ever seen and still haunts me to this day. But of course, this here is handled very comically and goofy, and everything basically goes correct. They blunder their way into a battle with a very wealthy lady who's kind of setting it up like, hey, let's have a party. And they stack a bunch of shit up, and she brings out all the lounge gear and the tables and sofas and sits out and enjoys the battle. So it's like, okay. And a very odd scene involving her as well. She gets erotically charged when one of the guys is killed right in front of her and she gets splattered with blood. It's like, wow, this is uncomfortable.
That sounds like Argento.
Yeah. So about an hour into the movie, it kind of starts to change. It goes from the bro silly stuff of all that goofy shit going on. And they do a victory. They get a sort of victory against one of the buildings and find out that the Germans in there have hung a whole bunch of their people. So instead of letting the Germans go or live like they planned, they end up slaughtering all of them. And so the other side responds by sending in a bunch of men on horseback with swords. And it's a rough scene. It's like suddenly, and in a normal battle movie, it wouldn't be too bad of a scene, but the context where this movie's going, to suddenly go to this really violent stuff is like, oh, Jesus Christ. And his buddy seems to die. And so he goes wandering off alone again. And the Messer movie kind of goes from what you'd call like farcical humor to really dark, cynical humor. There's still some humor to it, but damn, it is not laugh out loud. It's like, oh shit, harsh, man. It just gets darker and darker, and the ending is incredibly cynical. And it's like, holy shit. So it's good. And overall, it's actually pretty good. I don't know if I'd recommend it for Vanessa here.
I will not watch this movie.
And it's if huge Argento fans are going to have issues with it. Couple little notes I'm going to throw out here quickly. This was done after his animal films, his animal series, Four Guys on Vegas, Cats, all that stuff, as he wanted to show he's not just a Hitchcock knockoff, and he wanted to do this movie. His autobiography, I could find no reference to this film in it.
Oh, interesting.
And I had another Argento movie that the only reference to this movie in it was at the end when they do his filmography, where they list every movie but this one in English. And this one's in Italian. And I could only tell what it was because where it was placed. Man, I talked a long time about the movie. Unfortunately, there's some really cool shit. But so he didn't talk about it, in near as I can tell, very heavily until this Severin release. He's got a half-hour interview on it with Argento. the lead guy, the singer, he hated. It's one of the few people he's ever stated, I hated working with this guy and never work with him again.
Oh my God.
But he wrote a song. So I was like, let's look this dude up. Let's see if I can say this song. The one that comes up the most when you search his name is Prison Colin Insin Anan Sudus Osal. A song he wrote because English songs were becoming huge in Italy and he was annoyed with it. He said, you can do a song that sounds like English, but isn't, and it'll be a huge hit. And he made up a whole bunch. I've listened to the song and I didn't know that until I was first listening going, is this in English? What the hell is this? But apparently he's a studier of phonics and composed everything. So it sounds like English, but it's just gibberish. And it was one of the biggest hits he had.
Oh my God.
I saw the video for this.
In the classroom?
I don't know.
Or lecture hall
but I
or something.
remember reading all about this a couple years ago for something. And yeah, that is very strange.
Yep. But so yeah, that's worth watching as an Dario Argento completist.
This sounds insane.
Yeah, it was.
It would have been even cooler if they were on skateboards.
Man, that would have been rough in those dirt.
On the cobblestones.
Let's go with the BMX bike.
Okay, bike.
That would have been awesome.
All right. Well, I will go with mine for my dude bros. I think it'll be pretty easy to see how rad my guys are.
All right.
Once I get into this. This is called Nam Angels, as in Vietnam Angels.
Vietnam, where a lost squadron struggles against destruction. Now the Army's calling in the toughest team from the streets. Nam Angels. Lieutenant Calhoun needed a secret weapon for an impossible mission.
What if I was able to get in there and get out before the bombing started?
Now he's got his recruits.
I can get you out of here.
Oh, yeah, in exchange for what?
For your time?
Are you going crazy? Recruiting a bunch of outlaws. Come on!
Only the strongest will survive.
You know, you got one chance in 1,000 of pulling this off, Vance.
All they have to do is get one man, his army, and his gold.
You're gonna regret the day you took on the Hell's Angels.
No one can stop them.
Let's kick ass! All right, yeah!
Nam Angels.
It is from 1989. No budget or box office because it was straight to video. No Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, but the audience has it at 12%. I think that's a little rough. I would have put it at maybe 15 or 16% myself.
God.
Directed by Sergio H. Santiago, who has 100 credits, including Vampire Hookers, Caged Fury, and Naked Vengeance.
Huh?
And written by Dan Gagliasso, who has 12 credits, including Expendable Assets, Area of Conduct, the upcoming Soldiers of Misfortune.
Upcoming?
Yes, he's still working. It stars Brad Johnson, who has 45 credits, including Riverworld, Alien Fire, and Super Gator. He died last year at the age of 62.
Fighting a gator.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Good way to go.
It also stars Vernon Wells, who has 236 credits, including Commando, Weird Science, but we would all know him as the feathered biker from The Road Warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And it also stars Rick Dean, who has 61 credits, including Species 3, Satanic, and Razortooth. Eric, do you remember Razortooth?
Oh,
We
yeah.
saw that at the American Film Market. Quite bad.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. This is a weird fucking movie because it starts in the jungles of Vietnam in a company of soldiers who are creeping through the jungle when they are suddenly ambushed and they have to flee, and they get lost deeper into the jungle. But they find an abandoned village and decide it's the best place to lie low. this looks like this entire thing. It turns out they shot it in the Philippines, but it literally looks like somebody's backyard in California. I was like, where is this? This is not a jungle, but apparently it's kind of jungly. And then they built this old-looking village, except it doesn't look old. It looks brand fucking new, and it's ridiculous. This entire movie is so low budget. It's ridiculous. One of the guys, as they're kind of fortifying their area to make their stand, he goes into this little hut and he finds this little cylinder that he kind of shakes out like a flour shaker if you're baking, and little gold comes out of it, gold dust, I guess. He decides instantly somehow that they must be sitting on a couple $1 million worth of treasure there. I was like, wow, this guy's got a good eye, apparently. But it's a trap because the villagers were hiding and they attack just as the Viet Cong arrive. And so the villagers fight off the Viet Cong, but then it turns out they also don't like the Americans. And so they capture the Americans. Everyone is captured except for Lieutenant Vance Calhoun. He escapes. He manages to make it back. And talking to his superior officer, he wants to go back for his men, but he's told that he can't because the entire area is going to be carpet bombed in less than 2 weeks. And so his men are already dead. So what's a guy to do? Well, this guy takes it on himself to hire some Hells Angels that are in Vietnam for some reason.
Of course.
Excellent.
They're in jail, but he bribes a guard to talk to these guys and says, I'll pay your bail, but you're going to be doing something for me. And he shakes out that little gold dust thing. The guys are all just like, okay, we're in. Treasure, right?
Excellent.
Everybody, the one guy who calculates the amount of dust that fell, he can calculate numbers immediately, but he's a Hell's Angel in jail in Vietnam. Seems like you would have chosen a different.
There's a backstory you need to know.
Maybe, or not. So they all think they're going for treasure because Calhoun says nothing about the men that he wants them to help rescue. They travel via helicopter with all their motorcycles in it. And there is this awesomely bad heavy metal montage scene while they're all getting to know each other in the helicopter. So just a lot of shots of them smiling and patting each other on the back and shit. And the music is so bad, it seems like a spoof of a heavy metal montage song because going to war with all of my friends and all of this shit. And it sounds like it was recorded in somebody's living room. It's just like, oh, boy, this is awful. I was in love with this movie as soon as that happened. They, of course, then leap off the helicopter with their motorcycles.
Oh.
As you would.
So cool.
This movie is absolutely wacky. It hits some amazing tropes that I really, really appreciated. For example, Calhoun, as he's got all his men in the jungle on their motorcycles, they start to kind of doubt him, and he has to then beat the lead guy in hand-to-hand combat in front of the other motorcyclists, the other angels, so that they'll start to respect him. So that's really cool.
Oh my God.
They do take time out of their very tight schedule of a mission to save a small village that's being terrorized by the Viet Cong.
Well, that's nice.
We see the bikers gradually turning into heroes over the course of the movie, of course. And you start to realize, or you suddenly realize that the Viet Cong aren't the real bad guys in this movie, and the villagers aren't the real bad guys in the movie. The real bad guy in the movie is this white dude who the villagers worship as a god.
Oh.
Yes. And that's
Apocalypse Now there.
Yes. Oh, you've heard of this?
Yeah.
That's played by Vernon Wells, and he's awesome because on top of all that, he's not just any bad white guy. He is an ex-Nazi, and he has fled to Vietnam, where these villagers now worship him as a god. So it all works out for him.
Wow.
It all culminates in this amazing climax where Calhoun has to do hand-to-hand combat on a bridge that's wired to explode at any minute with this bad guy, the Nazi.
Nice.
Who do you think will win that fight?
The bridge.
One. Well, the bridge does blow, but Calhoun manages to toss the other guy off of it before it happens. It does explode. All the bikers get across the bridge, and the bridge explodes in a massive fireball, which is then the freeze frame ending of the film, which then has a quote over it
Oh,
that
God.
says, "It's better to reign in hell than serve in heaven." Which has absolutely zero to do with the movie I just watched. I looked at that freeze frame for a moment. And I was like, what did they mean by this?
Was this made by some like Hell's Angels people?
No, that's where we get into some interesting stuff. It is produced and released here in the United States by Roger Corman.
Of course. Sure.
The tagline is, "A freewheeling ride into combat."
Excellent.
So Roger Corman produced this film and was sued by the Hells Angels because the angels in the film are wearing exact replicas of the Hells Angels insignia.
Whoops.
He paid the group unspecified damages for copyright infringement and tarnishing the angels' stellar reputation.
Wow. But they're helpful.
The angels took offense to the fact that the Hells Angels, as depicted in the film, bicker among themselves, and they claim that just does not happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. A bunch of guys getting together.
Loyal to the end.
Especially when drinking. That is the time in which you really respect everyone around you in that room.
Interestingly, I thought I was looking for a different movie. I actually was looking for a different movie. And then when I started watching this, I was like, is this the movie I was looking for? Because this is really quite bad. But the movie I was actually looking for is called The Losers from 1970, which has a very similar plot, bikers in Vietnam and everything. And interestingly, after this film was released, Nam Angels, The Losers was re-released under the title Nam's Angels.
Whoa.
Which is not confusing at all.
I just watched The Losers like within the last 2 weeks.
Did you really? Is it awesome?
No, but yes. But yes,
okay.
It is. But it's awful. It's got some horribly there. I don't know. You watch it, you'll be interested to see if you say the part where they justify and become kind of heroes. I don't think they bothered with that with The Losers, really.
In The Losers, is it also Hell's Angels?
No, just a generic bike group.
Okay. There is something about a bunch of, Hell's Angels driving through the jungles of Vietnam on their Harleys that
it looks weird.
It's really appealing to me.
Yeah, it looks so weird. It's like oil drillers being sent to bust up an asteroid. It's like, maybe you should get the right people for the job.
Right.
These are the right people.
There was one scene that I was like, this scene does not need to be here, but I appreciate that the writer thought, listen, we have to make a little storage dump that they can show up and get gas for their hogs, right? Because there's no gas stations there. And I was like, this movie is so goddamn ridiculous. I didn't need to know how they were fueling up.
It's not necessary.
But I appreciate that he thought, look, people are not going to believe this if we don't have some way for them to get gas.
Oh, and I'm going to toss off a quick correction on mine. It wasn't German. It was Austrian that the Italians were fighting against.
Oh, okay. Big difference.
Yeah.
At least the Austrians.
They have very different flowers as symbols for their country. I'll tell you that.
Okay. Well, as usual, Vanessa, you picked a topic that I thought was incredibly stupid, and then I had a good time with it. So
you're welcome.
Thank you again.
This is what I bring to the show.
Bad ideas that are actually really good.
But that does mean that it is my choice for the next subgenre.
True.
And I would like to do something kind of a general, but kind of specific, if that makes sense. So a movie that has stop motion in it, at least, a scene with some significant stop motion photography in it. I was going to go with, I just want it to be Ray Harryhausen movies, but I thought that, you guys might fight me on that. So anything that has that kind of stop motion in it, I think could be a really cool thing to discuss.
Excellent.
Nice. That sounds good.
Okay, well, so this is the part where we thank everybody for liking and sharing posts, leaving us messages on the Strange Eons radio hotline, which is 253-237-4266. and sending money, participating in the value for value model. Is anybody sending us any more money, Eric? Nobody loves us?
We got Jason continues to be a regular contributor.
Jason,
yeah,
what a mensch.
Aw.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
And, yeah, you know, if you've got a little extra leftover Christmas money or something you feel you need, hey, we're always open to these ideas of new news topics to talk about based on cast distribution.
We've definitely had a couple listeners, well, one listener really take advantage of that. So be like Micah and choose exactly what we're going to talk about.
And if you don't have Christmas money left over, find us on Instagram, Facebook. Hell, we're even on LinkedIn. And just share our stuff around and tell everybody that, you know what? These guys are morons, but they're fun to listen to.
Right, yeah. We're on Grindr. We're on all of the popular ones.
All right.
So, okay, guys. Well, then I guess that's the end of the episode. And then we'll be back in 7 short days, and we are talking stop motion.
Transportation and other considerations for Strange Eons Radio, produced by Pan Am Airlines. When you think of traveling, think of Pan Am. You can't beat the experience. Guests of Strange Eons Radio stay at Econo Lodge Everett. It's an easy stop on the road, if you know what we mean. Strange Eons Radio is recorded live in front of a studio audience. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a positive review on your favorite podcast app. Sit, Ubu, sit.
Rotten Tomato score 42% from critics, but the audience disagrees. They think it's 90%.